Thank you very much, Dirk. Is everything fine? Can you see the screen and hear me? Okay. Well, good afternoon. My name is Matthias, and I'm a sociologist at the Navarre Tourism Observatory. I'm going to go through some of our sources of information regarding tourism employment, as well as the challenges related to them. Afterwards, I will proceed to how and where we publish the data and our findings. To start, the most real and valuable information we have is from the tourism satellite account. As a part of calculating the economic impact of tourism, it provides an approximation of the total amount of employment in tourism-related industries and an estimation of how many of those jobs are directly related to tourism. This distinction is quite important since, as you can see, in 2014, the total amount of jobs in the tourism-related industries were 19,720, but only 43% of those jobs were directly due to tourism. Many establishments' main orientation is to satisfy the demand of tourists. However, many bars and restaurants are mainly geared to the demand of the local population, but are still included as tourism employment, and vice versa for some small commerce businesses and local food production. And of course, this gives ground for a great deal of complexity, and which is important to overcome in order to improve planning of tourism employment. Our main source is from the Social Security data, which we have monitor monthly, and based on the data from the tourism satellite account, which analyzed a wide spectrum of economic classifications. From those, we decided to monitor employment in 3 of those on a monthly basis. They are accommodation services, foods and drink services, and tourism operators. And we selected these sectors since they contribute the most to the overall added value of tourism. According to a satellite account, they make up 57% of the added value of tourism-related industries of Navarre. In this regard, the main indicator is the total amount of Social Security affiliations of each economic classification. And we receive these data from NASDAQ, or Regional Institute of Statistics, on a monthly basis. And they provide the amount of Social Security contributors specified by gender, region of Navarre, temporary or permanent employment, full-time or part-time, self-employed or regular employees. And these data provide us knowledge on the situation of tourism workforce regarding crisis impact and precariousness, for example, which is crucial knowledge when planning actions such as relief packets and upskilling courses. And these data are both up to date and reliable since we receive them on a monthly basis, and are also registered data rather than from a sample. However, we do not know the exact proportion of jobs that are created due to tourism. For instance, also parts of the foods and drink services are geared for local demand rather than tourism. And therefore, and due to the fact that it is not realistic for us to elaborate a tourism satellite account every year, we find it quite necessary to develop coefficients or multiplier effects as to be able to calculate an operational estimations on a yearly or monthly basis. So far, we are not yet at that point, but we are extremely interested in establishing contacts and collaborating with other observatories facing similar challenges. Another source of data comes from the employment service. Instead of measuring the amount of employees, this source provides the amount of job seekers registered as looking for jobs in the tourism sector. They currently represent 8.7% of the registered job seekers in Navarre. And this measure gives us an idea about the supply and demand aspect of tourism employment. A disadvantage of the Social Security data is that the amount of unpaid or cash-in-hand jobs are not considered. And a source that do cover both paid and unpaid labor is the accommodation survey. performed by the National Institute of Statistics, which inquires the respondents to provide the total personnel paid or unpaid on the daily functioning of the accommodation. And luckily, as shown as this graph, the data from the accommodation survey are quite similar to the ones from the Social Security data. However, this survey only covers accommodations and therefore only provide information about 40% of the tourism-related workforce. So, and our last source of information is a survey we conducted back in 2020 as to determine the impact of the COVID-19 crisis on the tourism sector, and we included some items regarding the workforce of the sector. Regarding employment, you can see here on the right-hand side of the screen that only 52% of the surveyed tourism enterprises contracts extra employees during peak season. This might seem quite obvious, but without this survey, we would have a hard time documenting this tendency, since our social security data is contaminated by, for instance, the opening of school canteens during September. Also, this survey spoke loud and clearly about the level of education of the employees of the sector. For instance, a whole 43% of the employees in the sector only had the basic education. Yeah, and these data in combination with the social security data were essential in the direction of tourism, defined the COVID relief packages, as well as defining upskilling courses. At the Observatory, one of our main objectives is to provide reliable and accessible data for the tourism sector, as well as the society as a whole. Therefore, the sharing and distributing data is crucial to fulfilling our objectives. And with this in mind, I will now briefly present how we publish data related to employment. At the Observatory, we publish a monthly tourism trend report, and regarding employment, we include data such as the amount of affiliations, the feminization of the sector, and the trends comparing to earlier years. In addition, in our yearly report, which you can see here, we publish a more detailed analysis including geographical distribution and types of contracts. At the same time, we also publish the monitored data in our tourism intelligence system, which currently is this Power BI visualization available on our website. However, a new and more detailed one would soon replace this tool, since we are in the final stage of the development of a new tourism intelligence tool. This new system is going to provide even more detailed data than previously on our website. And this site will integrate data from Social Security and also the accommodation survey, and make the data accessible and easy to interpret. And I was going to show how it works, but as I'm running out of time, I will proceed to the conclusions. In conclusion, we have several different valuable data sources, and the correct use of each one of them helps us to understand the state of tourism employment in our region, and thereby be a crucial tool for planning and decision making. The tourism satellite account is by far the most precise and real source, but it is not realistic for us to calculate yearly. And even if that were the case, the data from a satellite account would have considerable delay. Therefore, we find it necessary to develop and apply multipliers or coefficients to perform estimations in between satellite accounts. And we believe that the best way to advance is through collaboration. And therefore, as a last remark, I would like to reiterate my invitation to the rest of the network. If you are working with employment data and want to collaborate, please do not hesitate contacting us at observatory.turistico@navarre.es. And thank you very much for your attention.